Hello there, welcome back to Parenting Hacks with Dr. Yanina. I am so glad that you have decided to watch this week's episode. And this week's episode is a treat. And it is the second part of a two-video series in which I have Pat Fenner with me. Hey, Pat, it's so good to have you back. And what we're doing is we're talking about how you can help your child that it's, now that we are in homebound due to the coronavirus outbreak, sometimes we moms go bananas because we don't know how to help our children. And this is what we're talking about here. So last week, Pat, you shared two tips, very good tips. And this week you're going to be sharing two more tips. However, before we start with those tips, I want to let my audience know who you are in case you have not watched last week's episode. If you haven't done so yet, just make sure you do. But Pat has over 23 years of experience home. You have been educating your children at home, homeschooling your children. You have 5 children, and you consider yourself a retired homeschool mom, which I love that. Besides supporting moms who homeschool high school kids, you also help mothers find their meaning and purpose after they're done homeschooling children. Because we know that, after homeschooling for so many years, and your kids just go away for college or whatever they decide to go to, things start looking kind of different when you're an empty nest. So what you do is you provide that support that you need when you get through that stage, through your signature course, which is titled The Empty Homeschool Nest Blueprint.
That's right.
Yep. Right. So you have quite a lot of experience homeschooling children, which is why I reached out to you, because as I briefly said at the beginning, some moms are just going bananas trying to help their kids now that they are homebound. Their kids are going through e-learning. Some of them are struggling. They don't know what to do. Moms don't know how to help their children because they're not teachers. They don't know. And you are here to help. To save the date.
Save the day.
Save the day for these moms. So
I'll try.
Thank you so much for coming back.
My pleasure.
And we're not going to go over the tips we talked about in the last episode because moms have to go back and check that video. But you have 2 more tips.
That's right.
So I can't wait to hear them.
I do want to reiterate, though, I said this last week, and I do want to say this again, just to help you with the mindset, is to remember that a lot of learning is not only academic.
Right.
So while we're all freaking out about, I can't teach math or Spanish or whatever, there are other things that you can teach. One of them, the mindset moment for today's episode, is to recall or to remember that how you handle this, and I'm talking about your attitude and approach to this whole COVID and self-isolation and all this stuff, all these problems that will be coming up, the approach that you take to handle them, your kids will see and model.
Right.
So if you end up becoming a couch potato and sitting on the couch and scrolling through Facebook or, become a news junkie, they're going to learn that the way to handle problems is to withdraw.
Absolutely.
They just are. And I'm not trying to put on mom guilt or anything. That is just what, if they see you, digging in and trying to find, okay, well, how, this is frustrating for everybody. And this is a whole new normal. And we don't know how to handle this, but we're going to figure out how to do this as a family. Then they will learn that, wow, when you have a problem like this, you take a proactive approach. Now, they won't go and say, gee, Mom, thanks for the good, good example you're setting. They won't do that, but it's
that's the message that you're sending them, and they are receiving that message that they will honor you for that. Probably not.
No.
But they're receiving that message, and it stays, like you said, it stays in their mind, and they understand that when you're going through struggles, you problem solve. You don't freeze. And and the truth is that maybe some of the moms that are watching this, they're having a hard time themselves dealing with this crisis. And the beauty about this is, like you said, no guilt. The beauty about this is that we have one day after another, and Absolutely. It's never too late to change. We have 2 routes here. We have the route of freezing and paralyzing and allowing this crisis to calm us and, not overcome, that's not the word, to affect us, that's the word, to affect us to the point of freezing and not knowing what to do, and that will lead to possible mental health issues. Or we can take the other path, which is, you know what, this is the reality. Yes, it's not good. Yes, it's difficult. But what can I do to make it better, to go through this and be an example of my children, that when things get tough, when you face hurdles, when the going gets tough, you need to find solutions. You need to become resourceful, right? You have to find resources. When you don't know something, you need to reach out and find resources, which is basically what you're saying.
Right, exactly. And so if you have been the first kind of mom that we've just described, I want you to say, okay, that's fun. No guilt, no shame, but you are here listening to something that can help you change your approach and change the journey, the next steps you make. So just hold on to that, like, okay, we're going to change. That's why you're listening. So with that mindset that we're going to be problem solvers, because we want our kids to see a good example of how to deal with craziness like we have now. So I'm going to get two more kind of concrete things for you to do. So yesterday you will go see what we talked about. And today's two ones are to create some kind of a space for them and for you to work in. Now, I know you might have a tiny house and you might have to be creative about this, and that's okay. I would not recommend, even if your kids have a desk in their room, I would not recommend making that their general routine workspace, because during these times when we're just all off kilter, we're not necessarily thinking well. Quite honestly, your kids may not have enough material from school to keep them challenged and occupied, and they may be getting bored. And when they are bored and holed up in their room, not a good combination. So even if you have them bring their stuff down and say, okay, we're going to work at the kitchen table during our routine work time, or set up or maybe if the weather's nice, we can sit out on the porch and work. That's where we're going to work. I mean, you decide what your space is like and what you have, but designate a place to work so that they start connecting with, okay, well, when I'm sitting here, this is work time. Make sure it's comfortable, but we don't want it too comfortable because we want to stay focused. Okay. So do you have anything you want to add to that?
I was just going to add to that is the whole thing about the more comfortable it is, they have devices in front of them. So if you make it too comfortable, it's easy to get distracted too, so, it's easy to get into texting or social media or whatever.
Exactly.
So you have to, and it's the whole idea, and that's how we started in the previous episode, the whole idea that they're not on a vacation or a break mode, that they are more into these homebound due to the outbreak, and you still expect, the expectations are the same, that they, we have a system that we have to follow, and there is some responsibilities, and even though some schools might be doing sending more work than others, there's still that expectation that they need to finish their schoolwork, they need to take tests, quizzes, turn in the homework, and they have to
honestly, if they don't have enough work from their school, maybe their schoolwork will be read a book on a subject that you're interested in, or mom, you can find some online resources that maybe your kid has a different bend or interest that they weren't able to pursue in school, and they can pursue it now. I mean, it doesn't have to be just do what the school has sent home. It has to be productive, edifying, educational work. And within that, setting up that place, it might maybe because they're used to bells and, that kind of schedule, you can do something like use the Pomodoro timer, or just a kitchen timer, and say, okay, just for, half an hour, this is what we're going to do. We're going to read about whatever. I'm going to go in my office and work, or I'll sit at the other end of the table and I'll work, and then we'll take a break, when the timer goes off or something.
I love that idea, especially for the little ones. That they need to kind of like these to switch from one thing to another.
Absolutely.
The older ones are more independent, hopefully, right? But the little ones, I love that.
Yeah. And then the last one suggestion that I have is to minimize distractions, because when you're home, I know when I first started working home, laundry was always this huge distraction. I'd know, oh my gosh, we don't have any socks for tomorrow. And I'd be in the middle of working on something and I'd go to the laundry. No, you can't do that. So minimize distractions. Put the pets up. If your kids, if the pets are a distraction and they like to, when we homeschool, we tend to teach our kids how to learn in that, with them around and in that situation. But you don't have the luxury of having this as a long-term thing. So knowing that your kids may be going back and you're just trying to, we're just trying to get through the day or get through the next couple of weeks or months or however this long this lasts. So put the distractions up. If you have a question for your teen as well, don't just, blurt in with whatever you need when they're working. Also exercise a little self-discipline and respect that, hey, this is their work time, so I'm going to hold the questions,
Right.
for later. And another one related to the minimize distractions would be provide some healthy snacks for them, because learning is work, and I know they're not used to snacking in school and they really can't even, but this is a whole different situation, an environment that they're in, and they're going to get hungry in the middle, maybe even in the middle of a work period. And for them to get up and look for something to eat is a distraction as much as trying to work with a growling stomach. Either way. So if there's, maybe fruit on the table, or some cheese and crackers that you just have there that they can just pick on, and they don't have to stop what they're doing and get up and deal with that. Healthy snacks, you don't want sugar, no candy. Don't do the candy thing. That's counterproductive. Maybe mini muffins or something. I don't know, something healthy though. Go with the healthy stuff. Right. And that'll feed their brain as well as feed their body while they're trying to get something done.
Yeah, and that's very important, because especially my children, they're snackers. Oh my
Yeah.
God, they're constantly snacking, constantly. So if they have their empty stomachs, I can just see them.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. I would agree with you. And, we went through 4 things moms can do that are feasible, are very practical. I mean, the 4 tips that you gave are extremely practical. They're doable. We all can do it.
That's
and
right.
It makes such a huge difference in the environment, right? And when again, it goes back to setting up the right environment for them to do what is expected of them. Exactly. Because, and that is so important. If they're not in the environment in which learning is, they're not inspired to learn and they're not inspired to do their work, of course they're going to be extremely distracted. And the last thing they're going to do is do their work, and they're going to just find all excuses not to work. But those 4 tips that you have shared with us are very good, and they can be done.
Yes.
Starting immediately.
Right. Anybody can do them.
Anybody can do them. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to go outside. You don't have to do it's a change that you have to tweak things around. That's what
it starts here, Mom. It starts there, and it starts in our heads. We can't dump this on our kids. When we say that our kids are driving us crazy, what we're really saying is, I don't know how to manage this, and I haven't managed it, and now it's rearing its ugly head. Yeah, so
out of control. Yeah,
let's find some ways to manage that.
And you know what? Is just be patient, and that's what I will add to your tips: is be patient. Not all kids learn the same way. Absolutely. And again, you are not there to be their teacher. You're there to be their supporter and guide. Because unless you happen to have a teaching degree, then your kids are lucky. But the rest of us who don't, we're just there to support and guide them through this process. And sometimes they have to reach out to other resources like YouTube or whatever it is, or websites or whatever it is, to be able to do the academic part of it. And so let's just focus on the environment, the situation, what we can control as moms, and focus on that, versus trying to make it more difficult when we keep on saying, "But I'm not a teacher. I don't know what to do."
Well, and I have to say, Yanina, I think that your viewers who are not teachers have a leg up from the ones that are teachers, because like you said, kids, everybody learns differently, and when you have a teaching degree, you've been taught a way to teach. And if you've taught in a school system, you have a way to teach that they want you to. And when you're home with your kids, you get to study them, you get to teach them if you choose to do this. Now, most moms will not in this environment. When we're talking to the, COVID homeschoolers, I know y'all aren't in it for the long, for the long term, and that's fine. But when you are home with your kids long term, you get to discover their learning styles and your learning styles and how they mesh and how you can learn together. It's a beautiful thing.
Certainly tweak what you're doing right now and follow Pat's suggestions. So, Pat, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge with us. And moms, if you want to reach out to Pat, again, she has a Facebook page. She's on Instagram. She's on YouTube. And she also has the Empty Homeschool Nest podcast that you can check out. And I'm going to put all that information, those links under the notes area. So you can just click on it and go straight to Pat. Thank you so much, Pat. And
thank you, Yanina. It's been wonderful to be here.
And we want to finish just to give another, like a word of just inspiration and hope to moms. This is going to end. It's a temporary issue that we're experiencing. We recognize that it's not easy, right? It's not easy. I know it's hard. We totally get it. We both are moms too. You all know that I have 2 teenagers, but just hang in there, keep doing your best. Show up, encourage your children and be there for them. Don't take this personal. It's not about you. If they're struggling, it's not about you. You do your best and, find resources. Don't feel bad or upset that things are not going the way you hope. Do your best and just.
No mom guilt allowed.
No, there's no guilt. It's not going to make it better. On the contrary, guilt just destroys. It's kind of like a toxic. So don't feel guilty. Instead of using that energy to feel guilty, just use that energy to find resources. And do your best. Well, thank you so much for watching this week's episode, and I will see you next time. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
Bye.